Free Period is a podcast of First Baptist Watauga Student Ministry. For more information about First Baptist Watauga, you can check us out at fbcwatauga.org. Hello and welcome to Free Period, the weekly break you want to take. I'm your host, Kevin Skinner, the Associate Pastor and Student Pastor here at First Baptist Watauga.
And I'm Nathan McKendry, your Young Adult Minister and Assistant Student Minister, also here at First Baptist Watauga. And today we're going to be answering the question, who was your most annoying school teacher?
But before we get to that, this week I'm going to give Nathan another word or phrase from the 90s.
Bring it on.
All right. So this week's phrase is talk to the hand.
Talk to the hand.
Mm-hmm.
Is this often said with emotion?
It is often said with that motion, yes.
All right. So I think it basically means I'm not going to listen to you. You know, you can just talk to my hand and I'm going to do what I'm doing, and my hand will be the facade that you can talk to.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, that's essentially it, or basically don't talk to me at all.
Yeah. Because I'm not listening.
I'm not listening,
right?
It's another way to say I'm not listening to you. What you're saying does not matter. So, another way of basically saying shut up.
Yeah, a nicer way of doing it.
Yeah.
I think it may have been one of the ones we tried to use as children when we weren't allowed to say shut up.
Yeah,
so
there you go. Talk to the hand because the face ain't listening.
That's right. Now, we never use that second part, but...
All right. So, good job.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and get to our question for the day. Who was your most annoying school teacher?
All right. So before we jump right into answering that question, let's first start by answering the question, who were some of your favorite school teachers? Because, before we kind of talk about who those annoying teachers are or were, I think it would be interesting to find out some of those good teachers that you really liked and maybe some that made an impact on you.
Yeah, good idea. I like that idea. Yes, so there's been several teachers that I really enjoyed at school. One particular stands out as my favorite. She was my favorite then in fourth grade when I had her, and then no one ever topped her. I thought, nope, you rock. You were the greatest. So this is a more positive one, so I guess I'll name drop. Her name was Rachel Whitener, and so she was Mrs. Whitener to me, or Miss Whitener to me, but her name changed right around spring break to Mrs. Basinger because she got married.
Okay.
To a youth pastor.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't know if he's or they are listening to this, but maybe I'll reach out and get him to listen.
There you go.
Yeah, great people. Yeah, he's actually the youth pastor at FBC Corinth. Great guy over there. Good church over there. But she did a really good job at, when she was teaching me in fourth grade, she did an awesome job at kind of affirming where I had planned to go. As early as fourth grade, I was talking about going into ministry, which is kind of an absurdly young age to come across that kind of a thing. And
sure.
Before I was wrestling with calling or anything like that, she was willing to kind of just say, yeah, okay, well, if that's your plan, then be sure to think about these things. And she was willing to kind of affirm that. I mean, she helped kind of merge the worlds of school and church for me at that age, which was, I think, very helpful and definitely something I needed.
Awesome.
So, yeah, she did a good job about that. What about you?
So I had many, many teachers that I liked. Definitely more teachers that I liked than disliked. In fact, I would say that I liked most, if not all, of my teachers growing up. And so kind of as a rule, especially as I got into junior high and high school, when we started having separate classes, where you're going from class to class, English was kind of always one of my favorite subjects. Therefore, my English teachers were always some of my favorite teachers. I really enjoyed, and still do, I enjoy words, I enjoy grammar, all of that kind of nerdy, boring stuff. I kind of enjoy all of that, and so I always enjoyed all of my English classes. Therefore, my English teachers, I loved all of them. As I think back to high school, many times my memories that I think back to are from my English classes because
That's funny.
because I enjoyed those classes so much. But specifically, if I had to pick an all-time favorite teacher, I would definitely have to say it would be my 7th grade Texas history teacher, which should not be a surprise to anybody because he actually made the cover of Texas Monthly. Since I've been living here, I have a copy of that magazine at my house. But yeah, he's on the magazine for his teaching methods. And so what I loved and what many of the students loved about him is that he really taught outside of that normal box. He didn't just stand up in front of the class and teach a lesson. Many times he would become one of the characters in the lesson, and he would wear costumes and do crazy things to help teach the lesson. And so you never knew when you were walking into his class, what the day would hold, and or who would be teaching the class, because
this is a history class.
Right. This was a Texas history class.
That's
and
fun.
So so he truly made history come to life, especially Texas history. He made it come to life. And so, I mean, I remember a lot of the things that we studied. He had an armadillo gang that you could be a part of.
A gang?
Yeah, a gang. But it was basically a Texas history gang.
Nicer
and it
word
was something,
for nerds.
And it was something that, right, all of the students really wanted to be a part of this because he made Texas history so fun, so cool. And so, I talk about him, and I have to say that his teaching style truly made an impact on me, especially when I was a children's pastor. So, I served as the children's minister here for about 8 years.
Yes.
And while I was in that role, many times I would teach the Bible lesson in a costume, whether I was becoming a Bible character or whether I was creating my own character to engage with the students and to...
Well, to be fair, you do this in the student ministry now. I mean, is this part of how Gospel Greg was inspired?
Well, I mean, maybe to a degree, just the idea of becoming a character, certainly. So
Interesting.
I don't do it as frequently as I did in the children's ministry, because I don't think that all of that has the same effect on some of the teenagers.
Well, they do mostly want Kevin Skinner, not all the other crazy characters.
So, although they do chant for Gospel Greg. But,
they do chant for Gospel Greg. That was fascinating when that happened, but we won't get into that.
Yeah. But, so he certainly made an impact on me in how I have taught children as an adult. And I think that it has helped made a lot of the biblical lessons that I have taught come to life in the same way that Texas history came to life for me and many of the other students. But now that we've talked about some of these favorite teachers, let's talk about some of these more annoying teachers. And just a disclaimer up front, we're not going to give names, right?
No name dropping.
We are not going to give any names for annoying teachers, but we'll share some of these stories. So I'll start with you.
Yeah, I did think about this question a lot, trying to come up with a teacher that I thought was annoying. Looking back, I don't know that I ever had one, unless I just purged them from my memory, that really came across as annoying to me. Right. There were teachers that were boring to me, but there were some more interesting ones. And so I'll tell about this. A teacher who was considered annoying by many of my classmates. I kind of found the whole situation funny. But it never directly impacted me, which is probably why I found it funny and not annoying. But anyway, so we had a teacher when I was in middle school who taught us history of some kind. I don't remember if it was Texas or U.S. or whatever, but I don't remember much about the class. I do remember that this teacher was known for being either really nice or really stern, really mean. Mm-hmm. And so to give you an example, we had one student, a good friend of mine, he was reading during class. And so I remember what book he was reading because the Hunger Games trilogy was real popular at that point. And he was reading the third one, I think The Mockingjay. And he's reading while she's starting class, right? And so he was reading for the few minutes before class started, and then he continued trying to finish whatever chapter he was on.
Right.
And she's walking around trying to explain something and start the lesson, and she sees him, and she had been happy and go lucky 1 second, and then turned on a dime and was angry and like slammed her hand on his desk and said, "Put the book down," and like the book. He's like startled and jumps, and the book falls to the floor, and he just looks straight up and he leaves it on the floor just looks at her and pays perfect attention. And then seeing his reaction, she starts laughing. And so it was kind of this weird character switch right in front of our eyes. And so it was kind of funny. My friend was not as happy, but but I thought it was hilarious.
Sure.
So she was one of the people that was often thought of as annoying. I thought it was kind of funny, but character changes like that can be annoying. So
there you go.
But that's the best I think I can offer. What about you?
Okay. Yeah. So for me, it's very difficult to find an annoying school teacher. But I will say, and I shared this in a Facebook post not too long ago, but when I was in 7th grade on the first day of school, and coincidentally, this was an English teacher. And so I'll just up front, by the end of the year, I loved this class and I loved this teacher. But on the first day of school, this teacher, he was a coach at the school, but also an English teacher. And so on the first day of school, he wrote on the board, "Sir, Coach, Sir." And he stood up when he introduced himself to the class. He stood up in front of us. And he said, kind of in a stern way, "You can either call me sir, you can call me coach, or you can call me sir." And, it was the first day of school. I think he was trying to lay down the law. We were 7th graders, and so I can certainly understand him feeling the need to lay down the law.
Did you call him Mom? Is this where this story is heading?
No, I did not call him Mom.
Oh, good. That would be really embarrassing.
But when I had to turn something into him or go ask a question, I can't remember, but I remember the long walk from my desk to his desk, and I was scared to go and talk to him, and I walked up to him and I was like, "Sir, Coach, sir."
Sir, Coach, sir.
Because he had kind of put the fear in me. But again, by the end of the year, I loved that class, and I loved him. He was a great teacher.
Did you continue to call him Sir, Coach, Sir?
No, I did not. I think we all, for the most part, ended up calling him Coach. I think That's what. Yeah, and I can't even. Oh no, I do remember what his last name was. For a second, I couldn't even remember his last name, but
it was Sir
because we just called him Coach.
Sir, Coach, Sir.
So then I'll tell you one more story. This was not a teacher. This was a substitute teacher, and this was my freshman year of high school. And so we had this substitute teacher in a class one day, and she was older, definitely a retired person, and I would say even she looked older than what a normal substitute would be. And she was cranky, and she was not. She was not very pleasant, and so
sad.
This was the only class that I ever had her in my entire high school career. I never saw her as a sub again. She probably hated it or wasn't invited back.
Bummer.
But literally, the bell had just rung. We're sitting at our tables. The bell had just rung, and so we were kind of having conversations with each other because the bell had not rung yet. So the bell rings, and immediately she says, "All right, everybody, shut up, hush up, be quiet." And she's just saying all of these things to get us quiet. And we're just like, because she's like screaming at us. And so we just like, I remember sitting there kind of wide-eyed looking at her like, what in the world just happened? And then a kid said something like, what? Something like that. And she was like, all right, you're going to the office, and immediately like wrote him up and
Yikes.
and sent him to the office.
Poor guy. Never knew it was coming.
So that was definitely an odd experience with a teacher, not an actual teacher, but a substitute teacher. So those two things I would say are closest for me for what annoying teacher that I could say that I had. So,
well, there you go.
Yeah. So now we know our annoying teachers and some of our favorites.
Right.
So, yeah. So that's it for this week's episode of Free Period. Join us again next week as I sit down with former youth pastor here at First Baptist Watauga, Zach Hudson, to find out what's going on with Zach these days. So join us next week.
Bye.
I hope that you enjoyed today's podcast, and I'd love to meet you in person. If you're a student between 7th and 12th grade, you can join us on Wednesday nights for midweek at First Baptist Watauga. You can also join us on Sunday mornings at 9:30 a.m. for growth groups and 10:50 a.m. for worship.